Welcome, my 164 subscribers, everyone on Wrestling Reddit. And did AEW just become sports entertainment now? Because the booking of this show, yes, it still has great matches. I think this time, none of the matches missed on the main show, even the Jade match. But everything that happened, at the start, after the match, in between the matches, backstage, every interaction was so, sports entertainment inspired. It's like Vince McMahon was booking the show. This show felt like a reset, a reorientation, or just it felt like a new AEW. It's like a new era of AEW where the stories get more complicated. You'll see what I'm saying as we get to those parts of the review. So yeah, let's begin. So this is a pay-per-view, so it has a pre-show. But this time I'm gonna cover the pre-show. Unlike the reviews I do with the other companies as well as the Ring of Honor one. But for the pre-show, I'm just gonna go through the matches. I'm gonna give a summary in the end and then give the score. So yeah, let's start with the pre-show first, the 0 hour. So this starts with a backstage interview with, who's this guy? RJ City. Yeah, RJ City, Tay Melo, and Sammy Guevara. So RJ City is entertaining as usual. But after the interview, the couple is chased down by Ortiz and Ruby Soho with a golf cart slash, what do you call this? The thing they use in airports to transport people. And Sammy Guevara takes a bump off of this, in full speed. But of course, Ortiz stops and he doesn't completely run over Sammy. But then they make their way into the ring and they have a pretty fun match. The dudes sell for the women in some pretty crazy moves, by the way. That's one spot of the match. But then Sammy drops Ruby on her head and they go on. She doesn't paralyze herself, but this was an awful landing. But then we get an Anna Jay interference. She's stopped right away. We get back into the ring where a double pinfall spot happens, but this follows some meh moves. And then we get spot of the match, which is a superplex from in the ring to the outside to both of the dudes outside. So this might have been too much for a pre-show match, but I'll take it. Really good spot, highest impact of the match. Landing was cushioned pretty well and no one was hurt. And so yeah, when they get back in the ring, we get Anna Jay pulling on Ruby's leg. This gives Ty enough time to recover and set Ruby up for a Ty KO and then the finish. And as she's pinning Ruby, she's looking straight at Ortiz. So yeah, this match was pretty fun. It's a fun opener. It's just 6 minutes long, but they managed to pack it in all into those 6 minutes. They were very economic with this match. So yeah, for top 3 spots here, number 3 is when the men sold, number 2 is the bump off of the golf cart, and then number 1 is the outside superplex. So yeah, this match is a TV undercard, pay-per-view, could have been undercard match. Yeah, if this was one of the better built feuds, this would have easily made it to the main card. And if I remember correctly, this is the 3rd match that they've had. Twice on consecutive rampages where they both got 1 win off of each other. So yeah, for a rubber match, I think this was just the perfect amount of time for a match we've seen twice already in consecutive weeks. And they managed to do different stuff from what they did in the past 2 matches. So yeah, this match was pretty alright. So after this, we have Hook versus Cool Hand Ange. So this was a foregone conclusion from the start. The match was 3 minutes long, but it was more evenly matched than Hook's other matches. Ange actually managed to do damage on Hook, so officially he's stronger than Ricky Starks now. But yeah, the match was so made for TV. Moves, again, so made for TV. Hook manages to get a surprise Red Room on Cool Hand Ange, and he taps out right away. But after the match, Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange attack Hook. They actually manage to hurt him, and he has to be saved by his rapper friend on the side, Action Bronson, who I don't know. But I think he's the guy who made Hook's theme song. He also dabbles in a lot of other things. But yeah, they set up a match between the pair of Hook and Bronson against 2.0. And it's probably going to be on Rampage. And I'm not really going to care much about it. So yeah, there are no spots of the match for this one. And the score is going to be TV undercard only. This should not have been here. But if it gets more eyes on AEW by including Action Bronson, I guess it will do its job. So after this, we have Pac versus Kip Sabian for the All Atlantic Championship. And I don't think I remember Kip being this good. Dude had the in-ring charisma. He did this like awesome fake dive. He like stopped himself and like landed on the apron as Pac was like shielding the back of his head. This is like one of the spots of the match. Actually kind of funny. Especially for Pac to react like that, knowing that his character is like a tough dude. But yeah, Kip did everything in this match. He did outside dives, some nice strikes, some playing with the crowd, some nice selling. And he even does this like thing where I think like this is like universal. Like you hold your hand like this position right here, and then you like get someone to look at it, and then you like hit him if he looks at it or something. Or like just laugh at him. It's like a sexual thing, I think. I don't know. But yeah, he does this and then he headbutts Pac. Kip was on fire the entire match. While Pac played more the heel, I think, this match highlighted Kip more. The man looked really strong, but he ends up losing in the end. Like the amount of offense he gets is almost like the amount of time I'm talking about him in this like review of the match. He was in control for like about 85%. And then there's this thing where he like talks to the like box head that he wears. He's like insane now. It's a very interesting character, but I would have preferred Kip to win his first match back. So yeah, for the finish of the match, he talks to like the box head that he carries with him, but it doesn't help. Like Pac gives him a couple of strikes and then hits the Black Arrow for the win. And then Pac leaves as Kip is like arguing with this box. And so after this, we have like a face-to-face between Orange Cassidy and Pac. So I guess this is the next rivalry. And while all of this is happening, Kip is just in the ring arguing with the box. So I have a problem with this. You made Kip look strong the entire match. But through this thing right here, with him like just arguing with the box as the champion who just beat him is like ignoring him, this kind of made him look weak. And even though he like did have a nice performance here, maybe starting off with a loss isn't the best way to start off his return. So yeah, Kip Sabian, new gimmick, he's probably gonna just squash someone. He's gonna regain that heat. But as for the foreseeable future, he has like a ceiling on top of him. The dude needs to like make this gimmick work and get over. I know everyone does, but especially Kip. The guy's been out for like a year. He was made to look weak after the match. Like him just arguing with this like nothing box. I mean, he's like the Riddler now. He's like crazy. It doesn't suit his like in-ring charisma early on in the match. And yeah, again, having him lose just like cuts off the wings from him. It like takes the wind off of the sails. And I think is the wrong move. So after this, the last match of the pre-show, we have Eddie Kingston versus Tomohiro Ishii. And they have pretty much a Japanese-style match. They go King's Road. They go for the type of match that I usually see in Noah. A lot of strikes, lots of chops, some lariats, a lot of striking. Basically, the match style that Go Shiozaki does, but a lot less good and a lot less intense. Ishii isn't as stiff as he was before, or like, they don't go for like stiff shots, really. And that took away from the match. If you're gonna have King's Road, fucking do it 100%. Because I think this match really suffered for it. There were also some like awkward moves. Some awkwardly executed moves, probably because like they were gassed or something. Crowd was also not very into the match. Like, it was alright. The crowd heat was alright. For a match that had like zero build. But yeah, for this style of match, it's average. But I think the placement is correct. So yeah, as for spots of the match, it's the finish. They have this strike battle. It's the stiffest one they have the entire match. Like, you could hear these strikes. If they just did it the whole time, it would have been better. But yeah, they go for slaps. Kingston hits his back fist. Ishii hits a headbutt. And as Ishii is going for his finisher, the Brainbuster, Eddie counters this and then does like a Northern Lights bomb for the win. So yeah, pretty disappointed with this match. I've seen some pretty rave reviews, but if those people who made those reviews just watched Noah, they would not be impressed with this one. So yeah, this pre-show was pretty good for a pre-show. It wasn't a complete waste of time like last time, or like any other pre-show by any other company, but things could definitely have been done better. Sammy dropping Ruby on her head, the entire hook match, Kip losing, and the level of stiffness in that entire Ishii versus Kingston match. And match of the pre-show for me was Kip versus Pac. So yeah, let's move on to the main show. So yeah, the show opens with the 8-man casino ladder match. I think this is a weird stipulation because if it's just like a casino, like normal match, or like a championship scramble, like the referee can literally refuse to count, like not have someone end the match right away. But here, there is a ladder and like there's the chip hanging on top of everyone. So if someone would like try to get it and succeeds, would they just put it back? Like it sort of doesn't make sense. So why not just start everyone in the ring right away? But yeah, the match starts with Wheeler Yuta and Rey Fenix, and they started up fast. They go for ladder spots right away, but not very like intense ladder spots. Just like a clip to the face and like a tope suicida push onto the ladder. So yeah, pretty tame stuff to start off, which is good. There should be like a gradual escalation of violence in these matches. Okay, so after this, Rouge makes his entrance. He's number 3. And Wheeler Yuta goes for the chip. So I guess you are allowed to take it before everyone is in the ring, which is a stupid rule. So if someone just tries really hard, they can take the chip as like the first 2 competitors, which they'll never do because that would yield a shit match. So it kind of gets predictable. Or it like takes away the effectiveness of this rule, making us think that someone can actually win being an early entrant, but it actually not happening. So yeah, you have to like fix up the rules of the casino ladder match. Or at least just like have them start the match right away. That's your solution right there. So for this entire part, Rouge just dominates everyone as he should until Andrade makes his entrance. And if like it was any other pay-per-view, if the thing that happens at the end like just wasn't in the cards, if like the biggest surprise of the show just like didn't happen, by all rights, Andrade should have won this chip. He's the leader of the Ingobernables. Rouge was just like right there to like stop everyone from reaching him. This was pretty much a gimme for Andrade. And I like how he like enters as Rouge is trying to get up the ladder and just like steps down when Andrade is in the ring. And I'm glad that they didn't break the team up or anything, or like didn't have any friction. But I think something happens that makes Ingobernables look a bit dumb. So everything's set up. Rouge signals to Andrade that he should go up. But then Andrade like orders Rouge or like implores him to like go up as well. And then without anyone watching the ladders, Wheeler and Fenix take Rouge out, making Ingobernables look a bit dumb. And then Wheeler and Andrade are on the ladder. And we get like the sickest spot of the entire match. And it's the sunset flip powerbomb from like the top of the ladder to like a ladder that's horizontal on the big one. So I've seen this in like Twitter that this was like another spot from another Money in the Bank ladder match where Andrade just like did this to Finn Balor and then Finn just like bounced off the ladder. It looked a lot cooler, but also a lot more unbelievable. Like this here looked a lot more painful because the ladder did not move. There was no bouncing that happened. It looked like Wheeler died or something. So then Claudio makes his entrance and then rearranges the ladder. He like removes it from the ropes. The whole point of stabilizing it is gone now. But then we get this pretty weird spot where Claudio like forms an X with the ladders, with Andrade like horizontal on top. I've never seen this done before. And I'm like 70-25 on this. It's something different and it makes Claudio look really strong. Because the man just like Samson and Delilah's the ladders. He fucking carries it until he reaches like the side ropes and then tips it on his side and then Andrade like falls down to the outside. So after this, Dante Martin makes his entrance, and then we get the most clear, awkward botch of the entire match. So Claudio and Phoenix try to like hit Dante with the ladder, like horizontal between them. Dante jumps over this, and then because of like the bounce, or because the ladder was falling down in the first place, it like falls on Dante. And then they try to like remedy all of this, but it doesn't work. And then after like a failed move, they finally do this when like they do like Dante stepping on the ladder falls on Claudio's hands, and then that's how they remedy the spot. But it was a clear botch. No question about it. So then he tries to go for like an outside dive on Claudio and Phoenix. Wheeler sets the ladder up as he's on the apron, and then when Wheeler makes his way up the ladder, Dante just springboards on the other side of the ladder. Wheeler pulls him off, and Dante falls from like a high height. This could have broken one of his feet or like ankle if he just like everted or inverted it or something. It's an unnecessary bump to take, but then we get a nice spot where he's like popped up by Claudio. He makes his way up the ladder. Then Claudio picks him up to be powerbombed. He tries to powerbomb him outside the ring, but then Dante like hurricanranas him outside, taking both of them out. So after this, Penta makes his entrance. He takes everyone out, and then we get maybe the number 2 spot of the match. Or 1, I'll decide later. It's a Canadian Destroyer to the ladder by Penta to Andrade, followed by a frog splash by Phoenix to Rush, who's on a table, after like Phoenix kicks him off as he's trying to save Andrade. And I like how Rush doesn't just set himself up on the table, that Phoenix has to go down by himself and then set him up for the frog splash. And so for the finish, the 2 members of BCC make it all the way up to the top. Dante Martin springboards and jumps over Claudio, and so 3 guys are like on the ladder now. But then some like dudes in black clothes and ski masks enter. They push the 3 dudes off of the ladder. They beat all of their asses and just ignore the other 4 wrestlers who like basically took each other out a while ago. I'm glad that this like new heel faction did not touch Ingobernables, because that would have buried them. I'm glad that they just left them there and like did what they did, which was one of the dudes who turned out to be Stokely Hathaway went up and took the chip. So everyone unmasks, and it's everyone that Stokely Hathaway has recruited so far. It's the Ass Boys, Ethan Page, W. Morrissey, and Lee Moriarty. And there's a bit of like an inconsistency here, because it's revealed who the Joker is like later. But the Joker is like someone you would expect. Like everyone knew that this was gonna be him. Everyone called that he was gonna return tonight, and it did. But having W. Morrissey, who's like a former WWE guy in a faction, doesn't make sense, especially if the leader is this dude right here. And plus the baddies, none of them are like former WWE. So W. Morrissey here is the odd man out, but we might get an explanation after, or like on Dynamite. But yeah, this was like a Vince McMahon booking move. It feels like Brock Lesnar stealing the Money in the Bank. But they all wait for the Joker to show up, and it's a dude in a devil mask. And like the mannerisms, for sure, the way he walks, it's MJF. And as he's making his way into the ring, I mean, I don't understand how this like smart crowd could miss that this is MJF. Like, it was so fucking obvious. They were just like quiet the whole time. But I love how this was done. And the entrance music for this dude completely matched like everything that was going on. It was like a Tarantino film. He enters with the Rolling Stones song Sympathy for the Devil. And I've never heard of this song before. Not much of a Stones fan. I'm like more of a Beatles dude. Or the Kinks. Rolling Stones is like my least favorite of the British Invasion. But this song here like really suited like this whole thing that they did. It was like a heist actually. And it was elevated by the fact that everyone just shut up. Like everyone just kept quiet and just let the song play. This was such a good fucking song. And it suited like MJF's gimmick as being like pure evil. And he starts off his like reign or like his pure evilness by not unmasking right away. He does eventually though in the main event. So yeah, let's get to the spots of the match. So number 3 is Claudio's Samson moment, where he like drags the ladder to the side of the ring, and then throws Andrade off to the floor. It looked kind of awkward at the start, but it does work. It's also a nice visual, and I've never seen this happen before. And so number 2 spot is the Canadian Destroyer on the ladder that's horizontal from the ring to the guardrail, followed by like a frog splash to the table by Fenix Tarouche. Could have been number 1, but the next one was just like so much better. And it's the Sunset Flip Powerbomb by Andrade to Wheeler Yuta that just like turned Wheeler Yuta inside out, destroyed him. And this took Wheeler out for like majority of the match, I feel like. Because it should. So yeah, this match, pay-per-view undercard only, a lot of awkward spots, some botches, but ultimately was pretty fun. And that ending, I think, is the best way you could have like inserted MJF into that title picture. If this is MJF, of course. So after this is the finals to the Trios tournament. It's the Elite, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks against the Dark Order with Hangman Page, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. So the match opens up with a lot of fan service. It's Hangman's interactions with his former friends. He's cool with Nick, not so much with Matt, and hostile to Kenny. Depth and consistency to the storylines. So yeah, and then we get the spot of the match when John Silver does like a picture-perfect wristwatch on Kenny Omega, and then like he keeps it locked on as they do like double T moves on Kenny. But this is unfortunately stopped when Page tags himself in, and then all the flippy moves happen that make me fall asleep. But yeah, flippy moves then happen next when Hangman does his springboard clothesline, and then he gets super kicked out of the air. So then we get a chunk of like Bucks control after Nick does his thing. So basically an assisted swanton, the dropkick by Matt followed by outside dive by Nick, and then the match slows down. The Elite cut the ring in half, like in their own way. Like instead of doing the rest holds, they do like triple team, double teams and stuff. But then Hangman Page becomes the damsel in distress of the match. And it's interesting how like the leaders are the one getting beaten up. I don't like it. It should be Matt and Alex Reynolds. I hate it when it happens to like any other faction as well. Especially to House of Black on Rampage a few weeks ago. As well as their match tonight. I've got some problems with that. But yeah, Hangman manages to save himself after he Death Valley drivers Kenny Omega. And then we get a missed opportunity when I really wanted like the guy who goes for the tag gets stopped like in his tracks either by the heel's teammates or by like the heel himself in the ring. But this doesn't happen right here because Kenny himself goes for the tag. So he hot tags Johnny Hungy and the dude just takes everyone out except Nick Jackson. But it's like almost everyone including their managers. So Matt goes for like a springboard move just like the one that Hangman did where he was super kicked. But this time it ends with like an enziguri by Johnny Hungy. It's not as effective as a super kick, but it's like faster, so Hungy can do the stuff he does like in quick succession. Because after the enziguri, he sentons Brandon Cutler as he's spraying him with like the cold spray. Hungy lands on his legs, and then he like European uppercuts Kenny Omega. He boots Michael Nakazawa, but he's kicked in the face by Nick Jackson. But he eventually gains back control. I just don't know if I should count this in like the he took out everyone. Because dude did get hit. The combo is broken. But yeah, all the same, Nick Jackson goes for like a moonsault to a standing Johnny Hungy outside. The Meat Man dodges. And then he like gets him in a suplex while Alex Reynolds like tope suicidas him down. Not the most highest value of like tag team moves, but it's alright. He then delivers a spin doctor, goes for the pin, but it's broken up by Kenny Omega. I think this team is like massively underrated. And I think they lingered too much in catering this year. This Dark Order combination I know might not be the Super Smash Bros, but they're really fun. They've like cemented themselves as more over than Stu Grayson and Evil Uno. And now Evil Uno is the one that's like lost in the shuffle. But yeah, Reynolds and Silver do their like high-speed like combination tag move that I really like that ends with a German suplex followed by like a pin by Reynolds. And they managed to make them look really strong. when the way Kenny Omega like gets out of this pin. It's like the weakest kick out ever. Like instead of like kicking Reynolds off of him, he rolls to his side and that's how he gets away. And then we get like a "This is awesome" chant, and officially, finally, Silver and Reynolds have been like made after like 3 years in AEW. This is their best match. And then they go for this like interesting like move where they get Kenny in like a crucifixion position. It does certainly look like that. But then Hungy is pulled off of the ring by the Bucks. And then we get the super kicks. And then like the hardest V-trigger. This takes Hungy out, and then this causes Reynolds to like check on him. But then the Bucks bring Hangman as well. They like pack him up in one big mass. And then Kenny goes for the Terminator outside dive. And then I don't know if it's just me, but they go for this like subversion of expectations, because like I think we all would guess that Alex Reynolds is the one to get pinned. So he's like a sitting duck. All the 3 members of the Elite are like around him. One is in the ring, Matt, and then Kenny and Nick are like on their corner. I thought they were gonna go for the finish because the most pinnable guy in the match is like right there. But then Reynolds manages to get away when he like throws Matt into like this thing that the Bucks do, where they like double enziguri someone as they're like on the corner. It's like one of the India spots out there, but it looks pretty good since like both dudes on their corner have like something to hold on to as they're doing the enziguri. So yeah, this gives Dark Order back control, and then they finally do like the crucifix type move that they were gonna do a while ago until they were interrupted. And it turned out to be like a pendulum bomb. Hungy like pushes on the legs, and then they like flip Matt over their heads, and then they like slam him down. And yeah, I was kind of disappointed with this one. I was expecting something more, and it's not very spectacular compared to the other stuff that was done in the match. But yeah, they go for the pin, they pile up on Matt, and then Nick just like does a swanton bomb on the pile. And like the 3 dudes shock absorb the damage to Matt. And then they all fall down, leaving like Kenny and Hangman standing 1v1 in the ring. After they do the like India spot of the match. You're just gonna have to watch it to understand. But basically everyone super kicks each other, and then all of them roll out of the ring. And then we get a storyline moment where Hangman and Kenny are like face to face in the ring. And then this time, like, they know who the legal men are. They don't lose track like the match with Will Ospreay. And then they pull the legal men to their corners and then force a tag. So basically the 2 most pinnable dudes of their team, they drag them to the corners and then they tag themselves in. And then they proceed to have like a one-on-one. They have like Kenny versus Hangman too. And they're so good in the ring, like together, like as opponents. The chemistry is all there, as well as the timing. And then we have like 2 near falls. After like Kenny does a tiger driver on Hangman, 2 count near fall. And then when he goes for like a jumping attack, Hangman manages to get him in an avalanche fallaway slam that like pops the crowd. The biggest pop of the night so far. Near fall, 2 count again. And then Hangman goes for like a buckshot to the back of Kenny's head. He goes for another one like in front this time to like end the match finally. But then we get a familiar scene when Matt tries to like talk him out of it. But Matt actually pulls him off this time, and Hangman has to kick him off. This takes time, giving Kenny enough time to like prepare. And then when Hangman finally goes for the buckshot, Kenny like falls down and he gets buckshotted by Nick from the other side. And so the Bucks go for the BTE trigger, Kenny goes for the pin, and then Reynolds breaks it up. And so Kenny, looking to finish Hangman, like telegraphs the V trigger. But then this time Hangman falls down, Hungy and Ziguris him. He rolls Kenny up as like Reynolds is holding off the Bucks. But they've got no gas left. After Kenny kicks out, the Bucks take Reynolds out. Hungy tries to go for a discus lariat, but then he's V-triggered. He gets set up for the one-winged angel, and then Hungy rolls him up again. I think this is when the match should have ended right here. This is how you get the Elite to chase the trios titles and not just like win it right away. Or you could have it like the other way around. Maybe have the Dark Order chase. But this might have gotten the loudest pop of the match. And then Hungy like argues with the ref. He gets his eyes off the ball, Kenny was in like perfect position to like V-trigger him, but he then gets Kenny in like a waist lock for Hangman Page to like buckshot him, finally, after so many tries. But Kenny escapes, and then Hangman buckshots the shit out of Silver, and then we get like maybe spot of the match. This finish was amazing. Matt like holds Hangman in place as Kenny goes for the pin like right in front of him. Hangman is fully conscious and like sees what he's done. Fucking great match, great finish. The Elite are the first trios champions in AEW. But I kind of think this was a mistake. You should have them chase and like not win like Tony Khan announced. This was a miss. This whole thing like getting the Dark Order in the pay-per-view. This sort of like fucked up one of the factions, House of Black. This got or maybe like contributed to like Malachi Black's hiatus. More on that later. But for the bright side, this was the best match of the tournament. Fitting for a main event. This made the Dark Order. And this like sort of gives priority to the OG AEW guys over the WWE guys. So yeah, let's get to spots of the match. So for honorable mention, it's when Johnny Hungy took everyone out. Nice camera work. It follows him like third person as he's taking everyone out. The camera angle adds to like the comedic effect of the moment. For number 3 spot, it's the highest impact spot of the match. The Avalanche Fallaway Slam. Normally this would be number 1, but the next 2 spots just have like storytelling moments like within them. So for number 2, it's the buckshot by Hangman. Kenny falls down and then he gets buckshotted by Nick. They go for the BT trigger and then the near fall. So yeah, great moment. Nice callbacks to the match with Kenny. And it pretty much came out of nowhere for the viewers at home. Then for the number 1 spot of the match, it is the fucking ending. That incredible fucking ending when Hangman just buckshotted the shit out of John Silver. Kenny goes for the pin, and then Matt just like holds on to Hangman as he's like fully conscious, witnessing what he's done. So yeah, this match is pay-per-view main event only. It was so fucking good. They didn't botch like in the previous matches, and everyone here pretty much had chemistry with each other. Everything looked seamless. There were callbacks to like a previous World Championship feud, and maybe the only thing wrong with this is Dark Order losing. I think a win here by the Dark Order could have like pushed them over the top. This would have like fully made them, but the match itself, the match quality, made that team. They are officially a mid-card tag team after being lower card guys for so long. So after this is Jade Cargill versus Athena for the TBS Championship. And this might be Jade's best match so far, but I don't like that it was just for 4 minutes. Jade had a longer match against Anna Jay than with Athena. This is like so fucking dumb. Jade was out there like on fire. She didn't mess anything up. Her offense looked awesome. Both her and Athena had like costumes on. Jade dressed as She-Hulk, and then Athena as like herself. And yeah, as for Athena, she's like good as usual. She even cut the best promo of her career. Like both of these women cut the best promos of their career on Rampage like recently, very recently. This might be like one of the best built feuds of the entire pay-per-view. And the match ends in 4 fucking minutes. Like at least go for 10 or 8 or something. And if you end the match in 4 minutes, at least have the interference happen like at the end of the match, not like at the fucking start. Because first, like very early on in the match, about like less than a minute, Athena hits Jade with the Eclipse, goes for the pin, and then gets pulled out by Kiera Hogan. Or like both of the baddies. So then Athena like kicks both of their asses. She like drop kicks the other girl like super hard on the guardrail. And then chases Kiera Hogan away. If you did this at the end, this would have made more sense. For like Athena losing in 4 minutes. I just can't get over that Athena lost in 4 minutes. And then there's like another Eclipse attempt. But Jade counters out of it. Athena counters out of that to a face buster. Knee to the face. Looks really good. And then we get another interference where Athena is on the apron and then Kiera Hogan like pulls on her leg. But then this leads to nothing. Athena just saves herself from like slipping off the apron, makes it look really seamless. She rolls Jade up. Jade kicks out, kicks Athena to the opposite side. Athena goes for like another springboard crossbody. Then Jade just like bro kicks her in midair, sets her up for Jaded, and then hits it, wins the match. 1, 2, 3. Match ends in 4 minutes. In 4:20. I guess it's not a complete loss. But yeah, match was too short for a feud that was built so well. Does a disservice to Athena, doesn't do her any favors, doesn't make her look any stronger, but this is Jade's best match. As for top spots, there's 2. It's the Eclipse countered by Jade to a Jaded, countered into a knee to the face by Athena. And then for the top 1 spot of the match, it's the bro kick in midair, and that's it. Match ends in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So because of that, this is TV undercard only level of match. This was so fucking rushed, and this is how you lose people to the competition. So yeah, Jade Cargill wins, she's cosplaying as She-Hulk, and she doesn't even twerk. So yeah, I'll just get this out of the way, because this is another match that was affected by its length. Like literally, we could have like took off some minutes off of some matches. Like the Wardlow match that went on for like 16 minutes. The Danielson Jericho match that went on for like 23 minutes. Or like just take away like 2 minutes from the match before this, from the trios finals. Just like make the match lengths more even. Let the wrestlers like showcase what they have. Instead of just like fucking ending the match in 4 minutes and then for the next one. Or for the next one I'm gonna talk about, because this one has the same fucking problem. Starks versus Hobbs that ends in like 5:05. I don't even want to talk about this match anymore. I don't want to rewatch it because it leaves like a sour taste in my mouth. Hobbs dominates the entire match, and just when Starks picks it up, he starts like gaining some ounce of control. We get like a spine buster out of nowhere by Powerhouse Hobbs, and then the match ends 1, 2, 3. I have no problem with the winner of the match. I was kind of expecting Hobbs to get away with this, but at least tell a story. At least have the match go 10 minutes, have it be an uphill battle for Starks, and then like have him lose, I don't care. But at least like have the match achieve something. And this didn't achieve shit. So yeah, no spots of the match. The score is like TV undercard only, maybe even a Rampage match. It was that fucking bad. They did Ricky Starks dirty with this one, and again, this is how you lose people to the competition. Like, Ricky Starks wants to be in AEW. He's never said anything bad about the company like MJF did. He was starting to get over in like an upper mid-card sort of way, but then you fucking beat him in 5 minutes. Is this how you like, just like get rid of Ricky Starks? Just because you have MJF back now? So yeah, this is a shit decision by Tony Khan. I wouldn't be surprised if Ricky Starks leaves. But yeah, hopefully we get a second match between the two. Hopefully like Ricky Starks manages to recover from this, and yeah, fucking terrible. So yeah, so let's swiftly move away from that match and let's move on to the match that came before this, which is Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns against Wardlow and FTR. And this one here was like maybe 1:30 too long, or like 2 minutes too long. The feud is built on Jay Lethal's TV title loss, as well as Sanjay Dutt like insulting Dax's daughter. So the build up here was okay, and I think the payoff really delivered. But the match itself was alright. So we start with Lethal and Wardlow, and Wardlow gets the slight edge because he's Wardlow. He's a cheat code, basically. He's a Goldberg, Roman Reigns type, and he's like projected really strongly, but people haven't started hating him yet. And yeah, I guess that's alright. But yeah, Wardlow tags out, Dax Hardwood comes in, and then we have him like mostly eating the Machine Guns' offense. But there was like so much stalling that it almost got kind of annoying. But we then get to see what the Machine Guns can do. We get Impact Machine Guns right here. They work just as well as they did in Ric Flair's last match. So yeah, they go for like their usual stuff, like the facial, which wasn't said by the commentators, for obvious reasons. But I feel like they weren't made to look as strong as they should have. And how do you? Because the other team has a fucking cheat code named Wardlow. So of course they wouldn't look as strong. They keep Wardlow out of the ring just to like stop him from destroying everyone. Or like the match would end right away. But yeah, I think Cash outperforms Dax in this one. We have like an Irish whip to a lariat, gory bomb, and then this leg working by the heels. Selling was also consistent. Cash sells as he does the backbreaker, and we get some nice fucking working on Cash's legs. And not only this, but we get the spots that I like where they like pull the damsel as he's going for the tag. Like, even if the heel is hurt, he pulls Cash and makes a tag. And of course, Wardlow looks very strong. He destroys everyone, and it takes an outside interference by Satnam Singh to like give the heels back the control. And after the Guns do their like outside dive, finally we have like a 3-on-1 on Wardlow. They kick his ass, and then FTR come in for the rescue. So for the finishing sequence, Dax rebound power bombs Chris Sabin. FTR hit the big rig on Alex Shelley, and then they get double lethal injection by Jay Lethal. And then Jay goes for a running attack. He gets headbutted hard by Wardlow. Wardlow then does his like recoiling lariat. And then he goes for a powerbomb symphony. He hits like 3, and then he ends Jay Lethal's contention for the TNT title. So after the match, the heels, except Jay Lethal, look like they're gonna attack the winners. But then Samoa Joe makes his return and then saves their asses. So I know they were trying to protect the machine guns here, but having them just run away from the fight made them look so fucking weak because they just abandoned Lethal, Dutt, and Singh as Joe is like demolishing them. But I guess there's history there, and Joe has no beef with the machine guns, so he lets them go. But yeah, he beats up Satnam Singh. He manages to take him out with the title, and then they trap Sanjay Dutt. They call out Dax's daughter, Finley, the one with the heart problem, the VSD or the ASD, I forgot. So Dax hits Sanjay Dutt just like normal punch, and then Finley goes for the win, 1, 2, 3. Bryce Remsburg like does a count and then like rings the bell. And people are like comparing this to when like Nicholas won, or to like when Brody King's son did anything. But this is different because like Sanjay Dutt kind of has it coming. Sanjay is also a manager, and Finley didn't win a championship in the process. So yeah, this makes it less like taboo for this kid to pin Sanjay Dutt. And if I remember correctly, Nicholas pinned both Sheamus and Cesaro. So that's a whole lot shittier. And as for -1, he never pinned anyone. So yeah. And shit, I forgot to talk about spots of the match. As for the spots of the match, after rewatching, the match only has one, and that's the finish. The match was like pretty made for TV and didn't really have much spectacular stuff done. So yeah, finish is the only spot of the match. And as for the score, the match has an alright build, but the crowd weren't really that invested in the machine guns because like they only had one segment where they showed up, and that was on Rampage. So that really affected the heat of the match. There also wasn't much like spectacular moves that went on. It was overshadowed by the previous trios match that I think should have went on later. And this went on too long for what they were trying to accomplish. So yeah, closing remarks on the match. I think FTR and the Guns should have like their own tag team match, preferably on Impact to like give Impact a boost, or on Dynamite, whenever. So after this is the Starks versus Hobbs match, but I already talked about that. So let's move on to the match that stole the show, that blew all of the expectations out of the water. And this is Swerve in Our Glory versus The Acclaimed for the Tag Team Championships. So I didn't expect this to go for like 20 minutes. I think it was like 22. But the crowd, even if this match like wasn't built very well, it was like a last minute addition. The crowd were into it from the start. They were like 80-20 in favor of The Acclaimed. Like even in the introduction of the match, when we had like stare downs, when we had like lockups, I thought I was watching a British crowd. They were so loud. But yeah, Swerve played heel, Keith played face, but as the Acclaimed like got themselves more over as the match went on, Swerve and Our Glory just played heel. They had to. They were given no choice. 5 minutes in, and then they stopped fucking around and then had the match. Swerve and Our Glory were like full heels. And you could explain this away because Swerve was never really a babyface. He screwed over his teammate, and that might have rubbed on Keith Lee. And also, these two, like who are like usually cheered, might have gotten enough of the crowd and like became bitter and turned heel like right there and then. So yeah, Swerve and Keith cut the ring in half and beat the shit out of Max Caster. But Keith takes too much time, they do it too slowly, and then Caster manages to like do a flying top rope cutter on Keith, and they both make the tag. So Bowens gets off some offense. It's decent, nothing spectacular. Everything they've done so far has been like pretty grounded and not really like in the realm of FTR or the Young Bucks. The match just went on how over the Acclaimed are, but then the match like gets to the next gear when Anthony Bowens like kayfabe injures his left knee. He like falls over. This looks so authentic, and he goes on like this for the whole match. It's not as good as like Kaito Kiyomiya or Hangman Page selling, but it's alright. He does moves with his leg, but he then sells like he's about to die. This just got the crowd like more into the match. Like about 10 minutes in, 9 minutes in. And then Swerve like throws Bowens out of the ring, and he falls legs first outside. And this is when we knew that this is not a real injury. This is the match's story. Billy Gunn and Max Caster check on Anthony Bowens. And then I like how fucking Swerve just does a baseball slide and then steps on Bowens' left knee, taking him out even more. I don't think I've seen this before. Like working on an opponent's leg with an outside dive. And they just keep working on his leg. Like they don't go for submissions, which is pretty dumb. They like work on his leg and then they go for the pin. This doesn't make sense. If they went for the submission, Bowens might have like not been able to resist for a long time. But yeah, Swerve and Our Glory prolong the match and play with their food. But then Anthony Bowens like hulks up and he does a blockbuster on Keith. Bowens goes for the tag. I was surprised that Keith didn't, but Swerve enters anyway. And Caster like tries to clothesline Keith, but he's not able to because he's like huge. And he just like clotheslines Swerve like no effort. Pretty funny spot, but at most it's an honorable mention. And then they continue on this like Max Caster trying to do like a carry move on Keith Lee. But again, he's not able to. Keith goes for the pounce, he hits Swerve. The crowd goes ballistic. And Bowens comes in and like running knees Keith Lee. Near fall 2 count. And when Max Caster is thrown out of the ring, we finally get it. Some Kaito Kiyomiya, Hangman Page level selling from Bowens. Because like he goes for a super kick, but then his leg fails him and then he falls down on his left side. And then Keith Lee just kicks away his left leg. And then he goes for like a splash or something. Anthony Bowens just like goes into position, but Caster like stops Keith. And they deliver the highest impact spot of the match, a double superplex on Keith Lee. But then like right before the superplex, Swerve manages to tag himself in and double foot stomps Bowens, goes for the pin, near fall 2 count. Crowd goes wild. Like you could feel it in the air that the Acclaimed were gonna win. But like before that, Swerve goes for Bowens' legs. And he like steps on Bowens' head as he's doing like a single leg crab. Like the piece of shit that Swerve is. And then the crowd goes even louder when Max Caster like does a springboard like single leg drop kick to the back of Swerve's head. Back-to-back spot of the match candidates. And also like awesome selling here by Swerve. He's just laid out on the floor, like face on the floor. And then we get the "This is awesome" chant of the match. Swerve regains control. He tries to go for like a springboard move, but he's pulled off of the apron. And then the Acclaimed set him up for like a mic drop on the outside. They throw him in to be pinned, but then Keith Lee's right there and he stops everything. And then finally Daddy Ass makes himself useful. He distracts Keith Lee. Not the most babyface thing to do, But this gives Max Caster enough time to like set him up and then actually like get him on his shoulders in a fireman carry position for an attitude adjustment. This takes Keith out. Bowens hits Swerve with like a sidewalk slam. And then Caster goes for a mic drop, but then this is broken up by Keith Lee, near fall 2 count. Crowd pop. But not like the good crowd pop. It's like a more of like a dismay sort of crowd pop. Crowd chant bullshit. And then like Caster sets up Swerve for like a move. Maybe it's like a deadlift sort of like German move from like the apron to the ring. But he's caught in a Death Valley driver. He hits the apron and then he's out. And then Swerve, being the piece of shit that he is, just like goes for Bowens' leg, tags in Keith Lee, and then like by himself, like Bowens holds both of them back. And then we get like the final spark of hope when like Swerve kicks Keith instead of Bowens. Bowens goes for the super kick and then he like rolls up Keith Lee. He kicks out. Crowd disappointed again. He hits like Swerve in this spinning DDT move while his legs are on like the bottom rope. Looks pretty cool. I've never seen Bowens do this before. But for a match like this, it's time to pull it out. So then Bowens, looking to finish off Keith Lee, I think he's trying to go for a Faymaster. But then Keith like catches him, gets him in like an electric chair position, catches him midair, spins him around for like a powerbomb position, and then they hit Bowens with their finisher. 1, 2, 3. Fucking Swerve in Our Glory, retain. Okay, so for spots of the match, I'm just gonna run through this because I want to talk about the result. Number 3 is the super kick by Bowens where he like falls over. Number 2 is the double superplex by the Acclaimed on Keith Lee. And then number 1 is the fucking attitude adjustment on Keith Lee, followed by like the mic drop on Swerve, where like Keith breaks up the pin and then the crowd just chants bullshit. Okay, so first of all, this match is like pay-per-view main event only. And second, I've been seeing like a lot of reactions saying that the Acclaim should have won, but I don't think so. Like, I completely disagree with the Acclaimed winning. Like, even if the crowd was there, even if the crowd was on their side, we've had this with like many other tag team matches before. This kind of felt like FTR or the Revival versus DIY. This had like an NXT match feel to it, but the only thing missing was the build. The match was like built for 2 weeks, I think. And then like for last week's Dynamite, we just had like a promo segment. So yeah, the build wasn't really here. So for me, this doesn't warrant an Acclaimed win. I think you should have Swerve in Our Glory like turn heel, or like have the Revival or FTR take the titles from them and then have the Acclaimed take the titles from FTR. That would like shoot them to the moon. I think it's too soon for the Acclaim to win because if they win, I think they're going to get lost in the shuffle. And I think Tony Khan is trying to like appease Swerve and Keith even more so they like don't leave. And I think they still have like a lot of stuff to do as tag team champs before they drop the titles. Like for me, it would have been better if Swerve in Our Glory like turned heel like right there and then. But Keith stays face. He scissors Daddy ass along with... No, he doesn't. Anthony Bowens rejects the scissors. And then Swerve just like berates Keith. He can't even believe that he's talking to the enemy. So yeah, another missed opportunity. They should have turned heel. And they should have like started the storyline to the Acclaim's like rise back up of the tag team division of AEW. I think like they should go for the Young Bucks next. They should like beat every team except FTR and Swerve in Our Glory all the way to the next pay-per-view. And then have them win the titles there. This wasn't the right time. Match wasn't well built. And the right team won the belts right here. So yeah, after this, we have the 4-way match for the interim women's championship. It's between Toni Storm, Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter, and Britt Baker. So this match really proves that fans react more to like when there's 4 women in the ring. So yeah, it starts first with an alliance between the heels and the faces. But the face alliance breaks up first because, of course, Jamie and Britt are a team. Shida and Storm, not so much. So yeah, the heel alliance is like so strong that they even do like a double submission on Shida. Like imagine if like Shida taps out, who the hell gets the belt? And so yeah, I love how they like involve all the women in the match. AEW does this very well. And this starts with like some chain pins. We even get like 1v2s, 2v1s, 1v1s, like every combination. But this match did more to showcase Jamie Hayter than the eventual winner, who was Toni Storm. Because Hayter just gets the faces in like a 1v2. And I say 1v2 because she isn't like being double teamed. Instead, she is the one going after both of them at the same time. She like double suplexes them by herself, like on purpose. It's not even a counter. She gets herself in that position, and then like this makes her look very fucking strong. The crowd was the loudest when Hayter was in the ring, but they were quietest when the faces faced off against each other. But the faces managed to get it all back when they beat up Rebel. But like their whole face-off was pretty meh. I think Shida performed better on Dynamite. So yeah, then we get to the second part of the match where Jamie and Britt take Shida out. Jamie like fireman carry, military press throws her to the stage, and then Britt goes for the curb stomp. Shida's taken out. But I really didn't think this was needed. This was a bit overbooked. Especially if Shida wasn't like the main focus of the match. She isn't taken out for long. Like she comes back after 2 minutes. But the way she comes back was pretty cool. She brings in 2 kendo sticks and then she like wails on both of the heels. She tries to go for a finisher on Jamie Hayter, but she is countered. She then goes for like a question mark kick, but it doesn't look as good as the one that Juria Nagano does. So minus points. And then again, the heels try to win the match, like with the both of them, because they also go for like a double pinfall on Shida. So pretty weird. They have a 2v2. The heels and faces are like 50-50. Shida stands off with Jamie Hayter, and she eventually wins out. And then we get what I think is the spot of the match. It's when all 4 of the women are involved. They each go for pin attempts, but they're all like broken up. So first, Shida on Hayter, broken up by Toni Storm. Toni on Britt, broken up by Jamie Hayter. Then Tombstone Piledriver by Jamie. She goes for the pin, and then Shida goes for like her double knees on Hayter, and then the pin is broken up by Britt Baker. And then we get the betrayal. We get the official breakup of the heel team. So Britt goes for the lockjaw on Shida. She gets thrown out by Toni Storm, but then Hayter throws out Toni Storm. And then Storm hits Shida with a fucking Rainmaker. Doesn't look very good, it's alright. But then Britt Baker pulls out Paul Turner. Paul Turner is like a good sport about it. And then they argue. And then Storm hits Hayter with the Storm Zero or like a pile driver. And then Britt tries to pin her. What a dick move, but Hayter kicks out. And then when Britt goes for the lockjaw on her friend, we get like a meh ending when like Toni Storm DDTs the both of them, she pins Hayter, and then she wins the match. So yeah, Toni Storm, new interim women's champion. I think the right woman won the match. And it's too early for Jamie to like win. I think she needs to like get past Britt first. And then she's the one to take the title off of Thunder Rosa when Rosa eventually gets it. That match is going to be sick. So yeah, let's get to the spots of the match. So number 3 is Shida's return. She enters with like 2 kendo sticks, overbooked but really fun. Number 2 is the chain pin breaks. They do like their most devastating stuff. And like the best part of this was like the tombstone and then Shida's double knees on Hayter. But for the number 1 spot of the match, it's the betrayal. It was so awesome. And I think this should have been the finish instead of like Toni Storm DDTs. She should really change her finisher because those DDTs are like meh. I usually change those if like I'm playing like a wrestling game. So yeah, love the winner, love the betrayal, but that finish was meh. So after this, we get like an ad for Full Gear. It's gonna take place on November 19. I don't know about this. I don't think I'll be able to make a review of that. because hardest rotation is probably going to be around that time. So yeah, hopefully I can review the event. Release schedule is just going to get a lot weirder from next week on. So yeah, after this, we have maybe the best way to prolong this feud. Like, this match ended better than I think it would, because the build wasn't really there. It had a pretty decent build, but it didn't really hit as much. And if you had Jungle Boy beat Christian like right away, Christian would be lost in the shuffle. Like, a 10-minute match would do a disservice to this feud. Because yeah, it wasn't properly built. Jungle Boy like just cruised through this entire thing. I think he didn't face enough adversity. So I fucking love how this all turned out. How he lost in like 20 seconds. So yeah, Christian makes his entrance first. And like the piece of shit that he is, he heals up on Jungle Boy's family. But then like Jungle Boy's mom like slaps him in the face. And he makes his way up the ring. But then when Jungle Boy does his entrance, and like I noticed that Luchasaurus like did not change his gear. It was always the black dinosaur. So I don't know why I didn't expect another turn. Like, it was so fucking obvious. It wasn't subtle at all. But yeah, I really like how they do the turn here. Because Jungle Boy, like waiting for his friend, he goes to the face tunnel and then like he waits over there. But then no one shows up. Luchasaurus exits the heel tunnel and then he attacks Jungle Boy. He chokeslams him on like the steel something, the steel grate, and then he like puts Jungle Boy through a table. He's like out. We get a shot of his family, and then Luchasaurus like throws him back in the ring. And then Jungle Boy, like being like a pure babyface, elects to continue the match. Like slowly gets up, is speared, and then is unprettied for the win. Christian just like squashes him, but is it really a squash if you get chokeslammed through like steel and put through a table? I think not. And I think this is like the best way to extend the feud as well as like keep Christian relevant in AEW. Because the dude can cut promos. He was a good heel when he had Luchasaurus. And yeah, I always wished for like a Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus match before we get to Christian. And I think like Tony Khan managed to like find his brain. He set the ship's course right and turned Luchasaurus heel again. Or like at least kept him heel. It was like an inside job. So yeah, after this we get like a trios match between Death Triangle and the Best Friends set up for Dynamite. It was pretty much nothing. It builds up to the eventual match for the All Atlantic Championship. So after this is Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson. And I don't like Bryan Danielson's theme at all. I think it's pretty generic. And he shouldn't have had like Elliot Taylor accompany him. I hated this part right here. But as for the match, they go for a technical masterclass. And I think the crowd was primed for anything but this. Like in TEW 2020, you don't have a match like this with a hot crowd. You don't really do these types of matches after like some bangers. So yeah, match starts very slowly. The crowd is not into this, so Danielson has to resort to like some Rick Rude stuff. But after he goes for like the meditation spot, they do some stuff outside. Springboard dropkick by Jericho. Jericho then goes for an outside dive but is kicked in the stomach as he goes down. And then Danielson goes for like a flying running knee from the apron to Jericho on the floor. So Danielson goes for his kicks. Jericho rolls him up, attempts the walls of Jericho. And then Danielson like spins him out. Then we get an attempt for like a Hurricane Rana from the top turnbuckle. But Jericho stops this. He makes his way down and then he finally gets a Walls of Jericho for the first time of the match. Danielson then gets out of this and then Chris Jericho takes a fucking crazy bump. And I didn't think it was needed. He like did it to himself. Like does something on the turnbuckle and then he like falls on the floor, falls on his face. But then back in the ring, Danielson like kicks Jericho as he's attempting for like a superplex. It sets him up for like a diving headbutt. Jericho like dodges the headbutt. Danielson like manages to protect himself. As he falls on the floor, makes it seem like he landed on his head. Jericho goes for a lion salt, and then Danielson counters to a label lock. Bell lock is countered to another Walls of Jericho, and he's slingshotted to the outside. Danielson holds on to the top rope, makes his way back. They spin each other around like it looks like they're about to tombstone each other. But Jericho manages to get the tombstone in the end. Lion salt, kick out. And then I kind of drifted off. They didn't even try to sell Danielson's head. Everything just sort of like became samey from that point on. And yeah, I can see the reasons for the negative comments. Crowd was like silent. They weren't into the match at this point. They were like pretty bored. We get like some respectful claps, but this should have been number 2. And then the trios match should have been here instead. Or like at least have this match at number 3. So yeah, for me, this match picks back up. When Jericho gets the Lion Tamer, Danielson somehow manages to get to the ropes. Jericho then goes for like a German suplex, hits it. He goes for another one, but this time he almost like lands on his head. They almost like collide heads, but Danielson manages to roll out. He dodges an attack by Jericho. He goes for a Busaiku knee and then goes for a cattle mutilation. And so the match already was like 5 minutes too long, but they still go for like the slow kicks, like the slow strike battles that I really hate in DDT. Danielson goes for like the Blackpool Combat Club elbows, but then I really like the finish. It's a low blow and then a Judas effect by Jericho for the win. So yeah, JAS all head to the ring. They congratulate their leader, and Daniel Garcia is like backstage watching in dismay as Jericho beat Danielson. And by cheating, to add to that. So yeah, I think... Wait, I don't know what to think about the result of the match. I think like either one could have won it. Because if Danielson wins, Garcia goes to the BCC. But I think if Jericho wins, the story becomes more interesting. Because I think like Garcia is not at a point yet to leave the faction. I think Garcia is the main character in all of this. And eventually he will be the one to beat Jericho. Like tempers will be flaring, there will be animosity, and like he will choose to like leave JAS by himself. So yeah, Jericho was the right person to win for the story. But I think Danielson is long overdue a win himself. Like after they get Garcia, Danielson should win every pay-per-view from here on out. This was just like special because it would serve the story better. For the spots of the match, number 2 is like running knees at the outside. Number 3 is the tombstone piledriver counters leading to the tombstone by Jericho. And number 1 is the finish. So yeah, this match honestly could have happened on Dynamite. This is TV main event, pay-per-view undercard match. And I think I forgot to give the women's match a score, so compared to this, that one is a pay-per-view undercard only match. That was better than this one. So yeah, after this is what I think is the most controversial match of this entire show. It is the trios match between the team of Darby Allin, Miro, and Sting against House of Black, Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and fucking Brody King. So I love like just the pure storytelling in this match. Miro just could not wait to get his hands on Malachi Black, on the Pagan. So he beats his ass early. He gets some paint on his face, but then Brody King goes for the save and then he starts fighting him. Miro and Brody King start getting it on. And shit, these interactions by Miro and Darby. So if you don't remember, these two were like rivals. Miro won the title off Darby in a very close match. Darby just could not keep up with Miro. In the end, he loses. Miro holds on to the TNT title for a long time until he's beaten by Sammy Guevara. And it looks like the rivalry is still on. Miro is very reluctant to tag Darby. Like he taunts his own teammate, and it takes like a blind tag by Darby to get in the match. And so Darby like gets the upper hand on Buddy, But then Buddy tags in Brody King, and then we just get some Darby Allin getting thrown around everywhere. So heels cut the ring in half. Malachi works on Darby. But then this is when things got a bit weird. Like, Malachi isn't as dominant as he should be. I think this is like a recurring thing. He did eat the pinfall against the Dark Order. He does get beaten up a lot in his matches. And I think this is like criminal. If anyone, Buddy should be beaten up. So yeah, Darby gets Malachi to tag in Buddy. Darby tags in Sting, and then Sting just cleans house. He holds off both Buddy and Brody King at once. And then he even gets like Brody to do the senton on Buddy on the corner. Like one of Brody King's best spots. And so yeah, it's awesome that Sting still has it. I think if you let him wrestle Ric Flair, he could have carried the fuck out of that match. So yeah, Buddy tags in Malachi, and then finally they face to face. The crowd is on their feet. Malachi wins the strike battle, but Sting gets him in like a scorpion deathlock. Malachi is cut. We get like a nice shot of him like trying to hold in the blood as he's in the scorpion deathlock. And honestly, I don't know how this happened. His eye is just like fucking bleeding. But yeah, House of Black tried to save Sting, but then he no-sells like the stuff. Malachi gets him in like a knee bar. And then I like how like Miro like pulls him by his hair, and then Buddy saves his ass. And so House of Black tried to like do the Dante's Inferno on Sting, but then he just escapes. He sets Miro up by like hitting him with a scorpion death drop. Darby goes for the coffin drop, near fall 2 count. And then we get a candidate for spot of the match when Miro goes for like his Machka kick on Brody King, and like Brody King falls on the rails. So far, I think Buddy has been like the MVP of his team. He saves their asses. He takes out Miro. He's also the tank. He took like a suicide dive from Darby. And then we get the controversial finish. Like, I don't even like this like, as a finish itself, because I think like Miro should have like contributed something. Like, if you're gonna have Malachi Black lose, at least make him look strong. But the finish is Malachi Black like tees up Sting for the Black Mass. But before he does it, Sting sprays him in the face with the Black Mist. Malachi sells the shit out of this. And then Darby goes for his like figure 4 pin. So after this, Miro just leaves, staring over at Darby and Sting, not pleased about something. The alliance is over, I think, and I think there's going to be a match between them. There should be. Or, I don't know, maybe just have Miro go after Wardlow. But yeah, Darby and Sting still acknowledge Miro's presence, but as for House of Black, they just like quietly leave. And it was said that Malachi, as he was making his way up the stage, blew the crowd a kiss, took a bow, and then left. Okay. So, the news sites say that Malachi requested his release. It's not really hard to know why. House of Black have been criminally underused on AEW TV. I really think he should have went against Hangman Page at least once during that reign, like win or lose. Or like House of Black should have won the trios titles. But yeah, now that's too late. Apparently Malachi Black is depressed. He's gonna take some time off, or he's gonna leave the company. And I find that kind of like hard to believe, like a little bit. Because I think he just extended his deal. Like an article published a month ago by Wrestle Talk said that Malachi has 5 years left in his contract. So yeah, I think it's kind of improbable that he gets released. But if Tony Khan like becomes the good guy, he then releases Malachi Black to go back to the WWE to finally be used properly. Because Triple H is the man in charge, and I won't be surprised if this guy gets a title reign maybe once or twice in the remainder of his career. But yeah, if AEW lose him, that's a big hit to the morale of like everyone, especially House of Black. Brody King's probably gonna stay, but for sure, Buddy Matthews is gonna leave along with Malachi. And that's such a bummer for House of Black because they're like my favorite faction. Aside from the Elite, of course. But yeah, the ceiling there is so high. Same goes with like Gobernables. Hopefully he doesn't leave as well. but their faction is in a better place than House of Black. House of Black are like, I don't want to say it, but are like a mid-card faction. And even if Malachi is being featured on TV, it feels like he's like right where he is, slightly above than when he was in the WWE. But he's way below than when he was in NXT. So yeah, and poor Julia Hart, she just joined House of Black. She's barely done anything, and then the leader of House of Black, like the namesake of the faction, is about to leave or is gonna have like a hiatus. So yeah, hopefully it's just a hiatus, hopefully it's a break, hopefully when Malachi comes back after like a year or something, this whole thing with MJF is over. That's it really. MJF is so over and is so associated with AEW. We all want his feud with CM Punk so much that it's pushing down other people. It's gone to that extent. And MJF is probably gonna hold the title for a year. So whoever takes it off of him, like whoever that babyface is, might have like just a few months to hold the title until the next heel comes in to take it. And hopefully it's Andrade or Malachi if he stays. But yeah, what a bummer. Malachi was like my favorite NXT guy. And it's sad that he's being mistreated not only in the WWE but also in AEW. And hopefully he finds the happiness he desires, and like when he returns, whatever company that'll be, he'll be in a better place and he'll have a better push. So yeah, shit, what a bummer. Match grade is like TV undercard, pay-per-view undercard match. So after this, we have the Daniel Garcia and Chris Jericho like interview/interaction at the back, and it's Chris Jericho basically taking away some of Garcia's rights as a JAS member. He's not allowing JAS to be at ringside for the match against Wheeler Yuta, but I think, like, my prediction for that match is Garcia's gonna win. He's gonna win, and then he's gonna prove JAS wrong, and we're gonna have Garcia versus Jericho. It will also clear up Wheeler for something bigger. Maybe have him challenge for other titles and lose. Have him go up against Samoa Joe and lose. Or maybe have him and Claudio win the tag team championships. Or have Wheeler take the pin and lose. So yeah, I love Wheeler Yuta, but not there yet. Garcia is better, and I think he'll make a better pure champion. And so yeah, after this, the main event, CM Punk versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. So here it is, finally. We finally get like a full match between these two, and it takes about 27 minutes. So if you add up their two matches, the match is like 30 minutes. Shit, it's so late. I have like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. duty tomorrow. I might not be able to finish the review like right away, but hopefully it'll be out like in 24 hours. But yeah, this match was really fucking good. Because like within 3 minutes, CM Punk got all of his heat back. He went for like the kick that broke his foot, but he actually hit it. He goes for like the CM Punk knee to the corner, the BCC elbows, and then a GTS. And then Mox kicks out of it, of course. Great way to start the match. It brings both of them in like an even playing field once again. It's like a hard reset. And then like they fight in the crowd. This Chicago smart crowd is loving this, by the way. And then like at the end of the 5th minute, they're back at ringside, and they have this like pretty like typical ringside confrontation. It's not really that special. CM Punk attempts a GTS on the outside, which I think like doesn't matter because you're not really slamming someone on the outside. But then Moxley counters, CM Punk hits the post, and then he bleeds. And then Mox just works on his cut with his like meh strikes. And CM Punk is a pretty good bleeder. Blood fills his face like right away. I think he overdid the blade job, but this was like to the benefit of the match. And again, up to here, Mox has some shitty looking strikes and headbutts. But like the way he works on the cut, his in-ring charisma is all there. And then for the next few minutes, Mox works on Punk's surgically repaired leg, foot. Since we know that Punk has lost all of his like athleticism, they go for like a story-based match. I think this suits Punk more than the match with Hangman. He should like never attempt that shit again. And yeah, like they go for like a simple spot. So Mox has Punk in like a calf killer, and like we have a shot of like the back of Mox's head, and like CM Punk's like half bloody face. And then Punk, teeth bared, goes for Mox's eye. He tries to like rip it out, but since it's not facing us, it leaves it to our imagination what's happening here. And I can't believe this match is like so simple, but like so effective. Only with Mox can like this match be like so grimy. The match feels so grimy, and like these dudes feel like so fucking dirty because fuck, Punk is just covered in blood. They're like spitting on each other, they're flipping each other off. It's all selling, and it's starting to sound like porno, but it's not. Mox then hits Punk with a pile driver, goes for a pin, near fall. I really think that if the Jericho and Danielson match had something like this, like if it had blood, if it was all filthy and fucking grimy like this, it would have gotten a better score. Because this kind of feels like a fight. This isn't a technical masterclass, like at all. It's also not a spot fest. It's not a Japanese style hard-hitting match, but it's something different entirely. It's almost like a hardcore match without the weapons. Because basically what they're doing here are a bunch of rest holds. But because of the blood, because of like the injury history, and because of like the weird offense, like the biting, like the poking at eyes. No, it's like more than a poke. He's trying to rip Mox's eyes out. It's more like a street fight. So then Punk goes for like an elbow drop. Mox counters it into a rear naked choke, a sleeper hold, and then Punk counters it by bouncing off the ropes into a Jujigatami. Mox then spins him around and then gets back a sleeper hold, a bulldog choke, and then he goes for an ankle lock. Hey, you fucking old fans, you fucking dinosaurs, isn't this the type of match that you like? And they're doing it here? They're literally just doing rest holds, and I'm liking the match. They're doing rest holds and they manage to like make people feel more than the trios match. Or like Ric Flair's last match that all of you fuckers just cheered and like stayed silent for the rest of the show. Time to give them props, come on. This match is really fucking good. So after more lying down on the floor, CM Punk attempts a GTS. Mox counters it into a Death Rider. CM Punk counters out and then delivers an elbow. They have like a strike battle. Mox goes for the leg, tries to do a running attack, but then Punk neck breakers him. And so Punk goes for another GTS. Mox gets a hold of Punk's leg and then works on the leg, and then he goes for the Death Rider. Son of a bitch. Just imagine what we could have had if like Cody Rhodes was still in the company. Just like Cody Rhodes, like maybe the best storyteller in wrestling right now, like no question. I'm gonna have to concede that. See, I'm not biased. Then like number 2, apparently just now, CM Punk. Just imagine the match they'll have. Or like maybe Jon Moxley. Triple threat match, and then they're just gonna do this. Maybe in a couple of years or in another life. But yeah, Mox doesn't go for the pin. He goes for the BCC elbows. He delivers him like pretty stiff this time, but then he goes for like another bulldog choke. And then fucking Punk carries him in like the bulldog choke position into a GTS, and then Mox counters to another sleeper hold. And then we have maybe spot of the match. CM Punk delivers a GTS to Mox. Mox bounces off of the ropes and then lands on CM Punk. And because the match was so fucking slow, I didn't realize that this was the finish. So yeah, the way that Mox falls into Punk is that he falls right on Punk's shoulders. So like in a GTS position, Punk just stands up, slowly like gets up, and then delivers a GTS to Mox for the 3 count and the win. Punk is a 2-time champion with 0 defenses. But yeah, props to Punk and Mox. Really good match. I don't know if it's more Punk or more Mox or like a mixture of the two, but I did see some of like MJF versus Punk as well as Moxley versus Tanahashi in this match right here. So let's get to the spots of the match. Okay, so number 3, it's this like figure 4 leg lock by Mox on Punk, and then they like flip each other off. Punk spits on Mox, and this just like isn't the most impressive spot. It's just a figure 4 leg lock, but knowing that Punk has an injured foot, that it's a main part of the story of the match, this part was just intense. Number 2 spot is the part where Mox has Punk in like a calf killer, and then Punk goes for Mox's eyes. This was so like fucking disgusting. It set the tone for the match. And yeah, why don't more people do this? And then for the number 1 spot, it's the finish. Punk tries to lift Mox. As Mox has him in like a bulldog choke, Punk falls down, he buckles. Mox then like gets him in a rear naked choke. Punk counters, like he rolls to the back, gets Mox finally in the GTS position, hits the GTS. Mox bounces off the ropes. He falls on CM Punk's shoulders, and then Punk goes for another GTS for the win. This is the best spot of the match, and I think of the night. The match was so fucking slow. They just did fucking rest holds, and it was this fucking good. Like, I know CM Punk's like promo or something, or like what he said post-show, like in the post-show scrum, really turned a lot of folks against him. Like, I even hate the shit out of Punk. I am like elite all the way. Like, Hangman Page has a point, and I think what Tony Khan is trying to do, like to try to keep everyone as friends, is what should happen. And CM Punk here is like fucking up the locker room. He's fucking up morale. He's getting people fired, and he's burying people over like promos being said like 3 months ago. I don't think anyone like remembers what Hangman really said. At the time, it was like mind-blowing. It also felt a bit incomplete, but I don't really think anyone remembered until Punk brought it up. And now he turned like most of the fans against him. And like in his feud against like a heel MJF, MJF is gonna get cheered. No question. Especially at New Jersey, at Full Gear. No fucking way. There has to be like a double turn. Maybe Punk takes over his faction. That would be like amazing. But we're probably gonna get like a heel MJF against the face Punk. So yeah, after the match, we get it. We get MJF unmasking. Okay. So first, the lights go out. We get an answering machine tape of Tony Khan like offering MJF like a bleeped out, like a redacted amount of money. He's not gonna sign an extension. This also puts Tony Khan over because he said he like cares about the fans. But yeah, it's Tony Khan bribing MJF to like show up at the casino ladder match. So what a nice way to like keep Tony Khan strong, keep him babyface, while not really hurting MJF that much. We then get a clip of Punk's promo, and then we have MJF unmasking. He like unmasks, he shows us like the back of his head, he puts on his scarf, and then he shows up on the stage. And I was very disappointed that Sympathy of the Devil by Rolling Stones isn't his new theme. Like, honestly, it should be. His old theme is starting to sound like too mid-card for him. So MJF and CM Punk have a stare down. He like signals the belt on his waist. And then the crowd, the Chicago crowd, chant MJF, like all of them. Even as MJF is like flipping all of them off. Just imagine if this is how the fans in Chicago react. Just imagine how much the reaction will be in New Jersey, like closer to New York. Okay, so this match is pay-per-view main event quality, and like only pay-per-view main event. It gets my highest score, and this end to the pay-per-view just like elevates it even more. Tony Khan managed to get away with this one, I think. We've had like consistently good matches, except for just the one. The Starks versus Hobbs match, like, disappointed very much, but like all of the rest were really good. So yeah, the poor booking leading up to the show, I think, hurt this show in a big way. it hurt the attendance. Okay, so Full Gear when Kenny beat Hangman. The crowd size was 10,442. On Revolution, crowd went down. Main event, not really that good. 8,359. For Double or Nothing, for like the Punk versus Hangman match, crowd was 14,459. And for the Forbidden Door show, 16,529. And then for fucking All Out, it's rumored that it's like 8,700 plus. And yeah, that's not a good sign. These are like two of your biggest stars. And attendance goes down by like twice compared to the New Japan joint show. And like a lot also, but not as much from the previous pay-per-view. So yeah, Tony Khan needs to like cut the shit and book the show properly for Full Gear. It's like a shorter time to get there, so hopefully he doesn't fuck it up. Hopefully like we don't get like a fucking chain of AEW special events and we just get the fucking pay-per-view build. As for how this compares against like all of the pay-per-views that I reviewed, okay, so let me just get back to my channel. I mean, it's like 12 a.m. already. I'm gonna be fucked up tomorrow. Ah, God. 7 to 8 hospital duty. Okay, so for all of the pay-per-views, I think this doesn't beat out Cyberfight. This doesn't beat out Double or Nothing. This beats out Majestic. This beats Dontaku. This beats Peter Pan. And this beats Destination. But just barely. Just like by a little bit. Best pay-per-view that I've reviewed so far is still, I think, Death Before Dishonor. Followed by Forbidden Door. Followed by Cyberfight. And then by Double or Nothing. Followed by Peter Pan, Destination, Dontaku, Majestic, and then Ric Flair's last match. That one has to be the worst. So yeah, I'll just have it on screen. No need to wait for this to be done, but yeah. So yeah, these are my match ratings. Just like pause if you want to ponder on it, if you want to like review it or something. This is the fucking longest review that I've done, and it might be the last of its kind, I don't know. Or we'll just get like late releases. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe if you like my shit. And for engagement, share if you do not know me, hit that bell notification for future videos, and please, continue to watch my shit.